Some attacks in Smash Ultimate can bury opponents in the ground. This gives you some time to prepare a follow-up or just straight up take your opponent's stock. I'm C5 from the Beefy Smash Dudes, and here is every detail about how berries work, how to get out of them, and how to use them for combos. Okay, before we start, we brought back all of our merch for Christmas, but now they are only available for 3 more days. It's your last chance to get these, after that they will be gone for good. Get them now or never. Now first, here are all attacks that can bury an opponent. Lucas's down throw also kinda, but that doesn't really count since it's a different kind of berry. Oh, and the item Pitfall, the Pokemon Metagross and Togepi, the assist trophy Waluigi, Olimar's Final Smash, and the stage WarioWare can also bury opponents. The duration of the berry depends on a few things. First of all, it depends on the attack itself. Different attacks have a different base duration. These are their base times at 0% without mashing. The more percent the buried character has, the longer they stay buried. And through inputting actions, the buried character can shorten the time they spend in the ground. This is usually called mashing and works exactly like mashing out of grabs. It can be almost any input, but some inputs help more than others. A regular action like jump, attack or shield reduces the bury duration by roughly a quarter of a second. So 4 inputs roughly equal 1 second less time spent buried. Directional inputs with the stick help you less than regular ones. One directional input reduces the bury duration by roughly 0.13 seconds. So about 7 or 8 directional inputs equal a reduction of 1 second, or roughly 1.5 circles. The game only counts up, down, left and right as inputs. Diagonals are only a combination of those directions, so they don't count as their own inputs, and if you push into a corner, it still only counts as one single input. This brings me to a few extra rules about mashing. If you want to know all the details, I highly recommend you watch our video about mashing that we made for Smash 4, since mashing still works exactly the same. But here's a quick rundown. Pressing many buttons at the same time always only counts as a single input. Pressing an action while holding the same action on another button doesn't count as an input. And the C-stick is completely useless when it comes to mashing, because it only counts as a single input even if you rotate it. So now, what is the fastest way to mash? Like I said, everything from our old videos still applies. Sliding over all the buttons very fast is a really good way of doing it. Rotating the control stick fast also works very well and is almost as fast as mashing buttons, but probably less exhausting for your hands and prevents you from buffering misinputs. And lastly, people have been starting to put different actions on the D-pad of the controller and then simply wiggle it as fast as possible when getting grabbed or buried. You have to change your controls for that, since taunts don't count as inputs when it comes to mashing. This seems to be a very good method, as it is roughly as fast as sliding across the buttons, but a little less exhausting. But is it really worth giving up taunts for that? You tell me. In the end, you have to find your own preferred way of mashing. But now let's get back to berries and what you can do after getting them. After being released from the ground, the buried character cannot act for 12 frames. This means that they are completely vulnerable to any attack you want to throw at them. At low percent, most berries are too short for any real follow-ups, but it always depends on whether or not your opponent is mashing. At mid percent, you can usually follow with an aerial or quick ground move after the berry. And at high percent, a smash attack will usually just take their stock anyways. The thing is, in Smash 4 a character's knockback was reduced if they got knocked out of a berry, but in Smash Ultimate they always get the full knockback, which is one reason why berries are so strong now. But there is another mechanic that can allow you to get better combos on buried opponents. If a buried character gets hit by an attack that is too weak to knock them out of the berry right away, they will still store the knockback of that attack. And as soon as the berry ends, the character will receive that knockback instead of simply being released into the air. To be clear, this is not dependent on how much damage an attack deals, it purely depends on knockback, so at higher percent, less moves will work with that trick. Unfortunately, most characters can't really make practical use of that if their opponent actually mashes. The duration of their berries isn't long enough to set up knockback storage and still combo out of it. And once the percent are high enough for it to work, you can also simply go for a kill move right away. You could do it for some extra style points, but that's your choice. If a player wouldn't mash at all, King K. Rool for example could go for something like this over and over again. But as soon as they start mashing even a little, it becomes unviable. The only exception for this are Inklings. Their berry has such a long duration compared to how quickly they can act out of it, that they can make use of knockback storage using back air, weak forward air or a jab. Here are a few examples. If you make sure to mash at least somewhat decently, you should be able to get out of most berry combo bullshit, and your opponent has to resort to simple aerial or smash follow-ups with the exception of Inklings. But to be honest, we kinda expect Nintendo to nerf the berry duration of rollers in one of the upcoming patches, since so many people are complaining about it. What do you think? As always, thanks for watching, see you soon and stay beefy!